city of Haifa. The IRGC said that the strikes were carried out in retaliation for Israeli attacks on Iran's petrochemical infrastructure. In a strongly worded statement, the IRGC accused Israel of targeting civilian and energy facilities, warning that such actions could put energy assets across the region at risk. And this, if calculations are correct, this would be the third wave of Iranian retaliations and Iranian strikes towards Israel in the past few hours. Meanwhile, a major explosion has been reported in central Tehran, followed by a series of blasts believed to be linked to air defense activity in the capital. The explosions felt near Iran's foreign ministry complex, while a weekly press briefing was underway. The cause of the explosion remains unclear, with authorities yet to confirm its source or precise location. All right, I'll cut back to Dr. Mir Javed Anfar. Doctor, we've seen more hostilities taking place. Is this an all-out war between Israel and Iran now? Is there any scope of that ceasefire still being in place?
Ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah? No, absolutely not.
In the larger West Asia region, sir.
No.
It's an all-out war now.
Well, let's just say we are on the escalation ladder, Shivan, and we are climbing. We've just took another step up on the escalation ladder. Especially the Iranians are saying that they attacked the Haifa energy sites. Let's see if the missiles actually landed, because Israel does have anti-missile system. If they have landed, then we're going to see even a stronger Israeli attack, and then we are going to be stepping up on the yet another step on the escalation ladder. But at the end of the day, I think the more the situation escalates, the more President Trump will be forced to interject to stop this from expanding even more. When he decides, it's up to him. But I think this is a situation that no Israeli government can live with. It was the Islamic Republic of Iran through Hezbollah that declared war on Israel 2 days after the 7th of October massacre by launching a war on Israel on the 9th of October. And Iran is used against the wishes of Lebanese people, Shivan. I have to mention this. Most Lebanese are against Hezbollah acting on behalf of Iran by attacking Israel. So against the wishes of most Lebanese people, the Iranians continue to use Lebanese territory to attack Israel. Even the Lebanese prime minister said that he condemns his country being taken hostage by Iran, and they're a sovereign country. They don't want Iran to intervene in their domestic politics, but the Iranians insist through Hezbollah to use Lebanon as a platform to attack Israel. And this is something that no Israeli government can live with. I think ultimately what we should look for, Shivan, is for the war to end, is to create a deconflict zone on the border between Israel and Lebanon so that Hezbollah cannot use it to threaten Israeli citizens. And as soon as that happens, for Israel to withdraw from Lebanese territory that it has taken, that it has occupied since a number of months ago. But for that to happen, first and foremost, Israel needs to make sure that the Iranians and Hezbollah realize that they cannot continue to threaten Israel's citizens.
Very quickly, Doctor, before we run out of time, what options does Donald Trump have at this point to de-escalate matters which are clearly on the escalation ladder?
I think first he will wait to see how far this goes, Shivan. He doesn't want this situation to get out of hand. It's very important for him, for his negotiations with the United States. And I think he will wait to see how far this goes. I think it won't be too long, the next couple of days, when your viewers will hear the news that he has interjected with Israel directly and with Iran through mediators to end the current cycle.
Well, there seem to have been attempts that were made for an interjection, but they have not led to the result that Donald Trump wanted, because he still seems optimistic that a deal is on. But clearly, the escalation ladder is where this is moving in. It's clearly getting more and more heated up in the region. Dr. Mir Javed Anfar, always a pleasure speaking with you. There will be more to discuss. Look forward to speaking again.
Thank you, Shivan.
Amid rising geopolitical tensions, India has widened its lead over Pakistan when it comes to nuclear warheads. And this is according to a latest assessment by the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI. According to SIPRI's 2026 report, India expanded its nuclear arsenal to 190 in 2026 from 180 in 2025. During the same period, Pakistan's nuclear stockpile remained constant at 170. With this, New Delhi now has a lead of over 20 warheads over Islamabad. China too has expanded its nuclear arsenal from 600 warheads last year to 620 now. The report says that India is continuing to develop new types of nuclear delivery systems and focus on defense modernization with focus on developing long-range weapons capable of hitting targets throughout China. For Pakistan, the report says that it accumulated fissile material in 2025, hinting at an expansion of nuclear arsenal over the coming decade. The SIPRI report also mentions India's actions during Operation Sindoor. It says that India attacked Pakistani air and missile bases, which were likely to have nuclear-related roles. However, the report adds that both countries took steps to avoid escalation. Globally, the report notes that the deployment of nuclear weapons is accelerating, with all 9 nuclear-armed states enhancing their nuclear arsenals over the last 1 year. The report concludes that the trend of retired nuclear warheads outstripping deployment of new warheads is likely to be reversed in the coming years. And joining me from the newsroom, Adhya Juneja, who will bring us big business stories and updates from the markets and the economy. Nikita Singh, who will bring us updates from technology, and Athira Shashidharan, who will take us through all the action from sports. Let's start with Adhya. Take us through the market updates.
Well, thank you, Shivan. West Asia's conflict is now hitting the global economy on multiple fronts. Markets are falling, oil is surging, and the cost of war is continuing to mount. First up, global markets came under pressure on Monday as escalating tensions in West Asia shook investor sentiment. US stock futures turned mixed after Iran and Israel exchanged fresh strikes, raising concerns over a fragile ceasefire. In Asia, South Korea's Kospi tumbled more than 8%, while Japan's Nikkei and Hong Kong's Hang Seng also closed sharply lower. European markets are expected to follow with losses as investors assess the risk of a wider regional conflict. The focus now remains on geopolitical developments and their impact on global markets. Next up, oil prices surged more than 5% on Monday as fresh strikes between Iran and Israel raised fears of a wider conflict in West Asia. Brent crude jumped to nearly $98 a barrel, while US crude climbed close to $95. The rally came as investors worried about potential disruptions to energy supplies and shipping routes in the region. The latest exchange of strikes has also cast doubt over efforts to maintain a fragile ceasefire, keeping energy markets on edge. Despite OPEC agreeing to boost output, supply concerns are keeping oil prices elevated. And finally, Israel's military campaigns are taking an increasing toll on the country's finances. The Bank of Israel says the total cost of conflict since October 2023 has reached to $138 billion, or more than 17% of its GDP. Public debt has climbed to 69% of GDP, up from about 60% before the war. The defense budget has more than doubled, while economists warn of growing pressure on healthcare, education, and other public services. As military spending continues to rise, debate is intensifying over the long-term cost of Israel's economy. And that is it from business. Now, for all the tech updates, it's over to you, Nikita.
Well, thanks so much, Adhya. First up, OpenAI is preparing its biggest ChatGPT overall yet, with plans to turn the AI chatbot into a super app featuring coding tools, AI agents, and third-party services. According to a Financial Times report, the company is redesigning ChatGPT's interface to push users towards features such as coding, image generation, and integrated services from partners including Canva and Booking.com. The update is expected to give greater prominence to OpenAI's coding assistant, Codex, as the company focuses more on enterprise customers and competes with Anthropic. Next up, a smart household robot is undergoing real-world testing in Wuhan, China, as developers look to bring advanced home assistants closer to everyday use. The robot, said to have intelligence comparable to a 3 or 4-year-old child, can interact through voice commands and help with tasks such as dishwashing, table clearing, laundry folding, and meal preparation. Unlike laboratory tests, the robot is being evaluated inside a real apartment filled with furniture, obstacles, and complex layouts. And lastly, the silent ransom group extortion gang is actively targeting US law firms and professional services organizations in social engineering attacks that often lead to data theft within hours of initial contact, according to a new report by cybersecurity firm Mandiant. According to the report, the hackers use invoice-themed phishing emails followed by phone calls in which they impersonate corporate IT support staff. Victims are then tricked into joining remote support sessions through tools such as Microsoft Teams or Zoom and installing remote access software that gives attackers entry into company networks. Well, that's it from the world of tech. Now my colleague Atra would be taking you through some sports updates across the globe. Over to you, Atra.
Thank you so much, Nikita. Here are the top sports stories we're tracking for you at this hour. We'll begin with football first. Iran's team held its first training session after arriving in Mexico for the FIFA 2026 World Cup. The session was held behind closed doors. A small group of local fans gathered outside hoping to catch a glimpse of the team. The Iran squad arrived in North America on Sunday for the biggest event in world football. Their arrival ended months of uncertainty surrounding their participation in the World Cup. Iran have been drawn in Group G alongside Belgium, Mohamed Salah's Egypt and New Zealand. Iran are scheduled to play their first two Group G matches near LA against New Zealand on June 15th and Belgium on June 21, and then face Egypt in Seattle on June 26. Over in Formula 1 now, Kimi Antonelli held off Lewis Hamilton at Monaco Grand Prix in a race that featured 2 safety cars and a red flag. Red Bull's Isaac Hedger claimed a third-place finish, securing his second podium of his career. With victory in Monaco, Antonelli has claimed his 5th consecutive race win, and notably, every driver to win 5 races in a during a Formula 1 season has gone on to win the world title. Antonelli now leads the driver standing with 156 points. Hamilton is second with 90 points. Antonelli's Mercedes teammate Russell has been dropped to 3rd place with 88 points. Lastly, in tennis, Alexander Zverev's wait for a Grand Slam title is finally over. The second seed defeated Flavio Cobolli to win the French Open title. It took German 4 hours and 16 minutes to win the match 6-1, 4-6, 6-4, 7-6, 6-1. Zverev is the first German man to win a Roland Garros title since Boris Beker's Australian Open triumph in 1996. Cobolli also enjoyed a remarkable tournament, reaching his first Grand Slam final and also breaking into the world's top 10 for the first time in his career. Well, with that, we've come to the end of the sports segment. It's back to you, Shivan.
Much for those updates. Also, a thank you to Nikita and Adya. That's a wrap on the WION Newsroom. That's a wrap from my side. I'm Shivan Channa. This is WION, slipping into a very short break. Stay with us.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
It's turned out to be the most successful World Cup from the standpoint of what's happening.
The FIFA World Cup is being co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico and kicks off on June 11th. For the first time in history, the tournament expands to 48 teams playing a record 104 matches.
Get all the updates from the 2026 FIFA World Cup only on WION.
elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Welcome back. I'm Samiksha Srivastava, tracking all the big stories over the next half an hour. First up, a quick check of the headlines.
Bantay mo, Ana. Bantay mo diyate. Lingkod lang, lingkod lang.
According to Philippines National Disaster Agency, at least 15 people have been killed after a 7.8 magnitude earthquake rocked southern Philippines. The Israeli Air Force claims it completed an extensive wave of airstrikes on Iranian air defense systems. The military says dozens of IAF fighter jets struck strategic defense systems in Iran as part of the strikes. Iran says resumption of hostilities will have consequences for ongoing talks with the US, but adds Pakistan's mediation efforts to end the war with the United States were continuing even after fighting resumed with Israel. Saudi Arabia cuts July crude oil prices for Asian buyers, though rates remain near multi-decade highs. The move aims to support demand and stay competitive, even as regional tensions and supply concerns continue to keep global oil prices elevated. The Japanese city of Utsunomiya suspends all 94 of the primary and middle schools after its first ever bear fighting. The city, about 100 kilometers north of Tokyo, said that the bear was first seen in a residential area near a park on Saturday evening. Seven people were killed and dozens wounded in clashes between police and members of joint civil society organization in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir's Rawalkot. According to West Bengal Chief Minister Shubhendu Adhikari, India has deported nearly 5,000 Bangladeshi citizens since BJP swept to power in the state last month. Iran held its first training session in Mexico ahead of the FIFA World Cup. The team trained behind closed doors in Tijuana. Israel and Iran continue to trade fire, putting to test a fragile truce and threatening hopes for a deal to end the war in West Asia. Here's a look at the latest developments. Massive blasts have been heard in Tehran. Earlier, Israeli military had said that it has struck and dismantled Iran's defense systems deployed across several areas in the country. Iran said that a hostile drone was downed over Tehran. Israeli military has said that it has detected a new barrage of missiles that were launched from Iran, the sixth salvo since the latest flare-up in fighting on Monday. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claims that it has targeted Israeli energy facilities in the port city of Haifa. The IRGC has said that the strikes were carried out in retaliation for Israeli attacks on Iran's petrochemical infrastructure. Iran has said that the United States is responsible for the resumption of fighting with Israel. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghaei has said at a press conference in Iran that Israel's actions cannot be separated from US policy. The spokesperson also said that the resumption of hostilities will have a bearing for ongoing talks. China says it was deeply concerned by the flare-up and expressed hope that a fragile truce in West Asia would be respected. EU top diplomat Kaja Kallas has urged calm while noting that the region does not need any further escalation. West Asia is on edge and markets are paying the price. Israeli strikes on Beirut sent oil prices and the dollar higher, while Asian stocks plunged as investors slammed the brakes on the red-hot AI rally. Brent has surged nearly 3.6% to trade close to $97 a barrel early on Monday. And the trigger was Israel having struck Beirut and Iran responding with missiles aimed at Israeli targets. The situation is volatile and oil traders are watching every move. Analysts now bet that Brent crude could go back well above $100 a barrel this week as West Asia crisis continues to escalate. Global oil inventories have fallen to 7.6 billion barrels, that is, since the Iran war began, marking record drawdowns from strategic reserves. The oil price climb comes despite OPEC Plus group's decision over the weekend for the fourth consecutive output increase. But here's a catch. Several members simply cannot pump more. The ongoing US-Iran war has choked oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. And the result is the world's biggest ever supply crisis. Saudi Arabia has not been able to fully supply customers since late February, and the UAE has now left the OPEC after nearly 60 years. Over to Asian markets, where stock benchmarks across the region were in the red after a wipeout of over $750 billion last week. Investors have been pulling back from the red-hot AI rally since late last week. After wiping out $345 billion, South Korea's Kospi dropped over nearly 7% early on Monday. That halted trading for 20 minutes. The index is down 14% from last week's record high. Japan's Nikkei fell 3.4% after Wall Street benchmarks stalled a 9-week rally. Nasdaq futures are attempting a recovery after Friday's 4.2% drop. And that was triggered by a strong jobs report that raised rate hike fears. Looking ahead, investors buckle up for a big week. SpaceX is set for a list Thursday, which investors have looked forward to for a long time. US inflation data lands on Wednesday. Canada and Europe hold central bank meetings, and Bitcoin still nursing a 16% weekly loss, which sits just below $63,000. Philippines has reported tsunami waves as high as 1.4 meters. Now this after a massive 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck the southern Philippines. At least 15 people were killed, several buildings collapsed because of the earthquake. According to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, the quake struck about 24 kilometers west of Mindanao Island's Sarangani province at a depth of 10 kilometers. A powerful 6.1 aftershock hit the area, which was roughly 2 hours after the first quake. Tsunami warnings were issued in the Philippines, neighboring Indonesia, and that is by the US Tsunami Warning System, having advised coastal residents to move to higher ground. The alert has since been lifted in Indonesia, but remains in effect in the Philippines. The Philippines and Indonesia experience hundreds of quakes each year and sit on technically complex parts of the Pacific Ring of Fire, which is seismically active belt that stretches from South America to the Russian Far East. Chinese President Xi Jinping is in North Korea for his first visit in 7 years. Xi Jinping last met Kim Jong-un in the month of September, and that is when he had invited the North Korean leader and Putin as guests of honor to a military parade in Beijing. Leader Kim Jong-un arrived at the airport to receive Xi Jinping. Ahead of his visit, Xi described Beijing's friendship with North Korea as invincible, one that does not depend on how the international situation evolves. China has been North Korea's main trading partner by far for decades and a key source of diplomatic and economic support. It is the only country with an official binding military alliance with China. The visit comes less than a month after Xi hosted President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Beijing. During Trump's visit, the White House had said that Trump and Xi confirmed their shared goal to denuclearize North Korea. However, just a day before Xi's arrival, Kim Jong-un's powerful sister said that North Korea's nuclear weapons program was the line of no retreat. Kim also ordered a 2.5-fold increase in missile production capacity over the next 5 years. UK, France and Germany have backed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's proposal, that is to hold direct talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. This comes following Zelensky's meet with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz at 10 Downing Street. According to a joint statement issued by leaders following defense talks, 3 European leaders endorsed Zelensky's push for a face-to-face meet and urged progress towards a ceasefire. Furthermore, Ukraine and its European allies have outlined 5 key principles for securing a just and lasting peace with Russia. Proposals include an immediate ceasefire, launch of negotiations based on current battlefield situation, and strong security guarantees for Ukraine. European leaders also stressed that US must remain actively involved in peace process, even as President Donald Trump's attention has increasingly turned to conflict involving Iran. Before the meeting, during an interview, Zelensky said that he's prepared to freeze the current front lines in war with Russia as a basis for launching peace negotiations, thereby signaling a potential shift towards diplomacy. He further added that any talks would need to preserve Ukraine's sovereignty and security, while emphasizing that a ceasefire alone would not be enough to guarantee a lasting settlement.
Yes, it's the quickest way. Of course, I want to freeze, not just freeze the conflict, because we want to live in Ukraine, not just stop the war. We want to stop, and stop the way when the war will not come back because of some crazy people and etc. if they want to come back with this war after some pauses. So it's not the idea just to freeze, but the quickest way to freeze. And to freeze and move it to diplomatic sector, to diplomacy, to negotiators.
On Sunday, Russia and Ukraine exchanged fresh attacks, with both sides accusing each other of targeting civilians. In Ukraine, Russian strikes in the southern Zaporizhia region killed at least 2 people, while 3 others were reported dead in 2 separate attacks elsewhere in the country. Parallelly, Russian authorities said that a Ukrainian drone strike hit a car in border region that killed a woman and injured her husband. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has pledged to crack down on groups fueling xenophobic violence in the country. In an address to the nation, Ramaphosa said that anti-immigrant protests tarnish South Africa's reputation. He pledged to act against forces who are exploiting legal immigration to further their own political, personal and criminal agendas.
We will and must not allow groups to use the legitimate concerns of South Africans to destabilize our country through inciting lawlessness and violence. We will act against forces who are exploiting the concerns of our people about illegal immigration to further their own political, personal and criminal agendas.
He also cautioned citizens against stopping people on the streets to demand their identities and said enforcement of immigration laws was a responsibility solely for the state. Ramaphosa also said that migrants were being blamed for problems that had arisen because of poverty and high unemployment rate.
Must make it clear that only the authorized government officials may act against violations of the law, including violations of our immigration laws. No other person is allowed, for example, to confront someone in the street, in the pathways of our country to demand proof of identity.
South Africa has seen a surge in anti-immigrant protests and attacks on foreigners, which has led to countries like Ghana, Nigeria, Mozambique to repatriate some of their citizens. In other news then, thousands of protesters have taken to the streets in Albania to oppose a multi-billion euro luxury resort project. Now, this project is linked to Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. Demonstrators say that the development threatens one of the country's most important coastal ecosystems and are demanding the project to be scrapped. Thousands of people gathered in Albania's capital on the country's southern Adriatic coast to protest plans for a luxury beach resort, which is linked to President Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka Trump and her husband Jared Kushner. The proposed development, estimated to cost around 4 billion euros, has sparked growing opposition from environmental groups and local residents who warn that it could cause irreversible damage to a protected nature reserve. Protesters carrying Albanian flags and inflatable flamingos, a symbol of the movement, marched through the lagoon and later rallied in central Tirana, chanting slogans and holding signs reading "Ivanka, go home" and "Albania is not for sale." This particular lagoon is considered one of the country's most important biodiversity hotspots and serves as a key habitat for migratory birds, which includes flamingos and other protected species. Environmentalists argue that transforming parts of the reserve into a luxury tourism destination would threaten fragile ecosystems and undermine conservation efforts. The controversy has intensified in recent weeks after reports of preliminary construction activity inside the protected area. Videos showing bulldozers and fencing work circulated widely on social media that fueled public anger. Although those structures were later removed, the project includes plans to develop Sazan Island, a former communist-era military base, into an upscale tourist destination. Environmental groups have accused authorities of lacking transparency and even failing to properly assess the ecological impact of the proposal. Meanwhile, Albanian Prime Minister has sought to calm concerns while saying that the project has not yet been approved and insists that international experts are involved in the planning process. With public opposition growing and environmentalists raising concerns, the future of controversial resort project remains uncertain, setting up a major debate over tourism development and environmental protection in Albania. While FIFA World Cup is igniting excitement across the globe, tournament is also sparking dissent in its host nation itself. In Mexico, protesters have taken to the streets, voicing concerns over events' social and economic impact. Anti-World Cup activists gathered outside Mexico City's stadium to protest against alleged disappearances in the country and what they described as territorial dispossession that Mexico's government sought to conceal during the World Cup. Demonstrators defaced advertisements of World Cup near the stadium and painted slogans World Cup and Mexican against the World Cup tournament and the Mexican government. They also posed with the soccer ball masks depicting President Donald Trump and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and painted on the pavement the message that read, "You count goals, we count evictions." Protesters accused the Mexican government of looting and dispossessing citizens and using media to cover it up. They also alleged that over 133,000 people are missing.
We are creating a counter-narrative to the government, saying that we are not this welcoming World Cup celebration. We are a people being looted, living through an intervention covered up by FIFA's media gloss. That is why we are here, under this bridge of resistance, declaring that we are still resisting in the face of all this dispossession.
We are here exposing the reality that FIFA and the Mexican government are trying to hide. because it is a reality that affects people in this country and that many visitors from abroad do not know about. Through these graphic interventions, we are trying to make people see what is happening in Mexico. It is a reality that is overwhelming the country, with more than 133,000 missing people.
2026 FIFA World Cup will take place from 11th of June till 19th of June and will be hosted across US, Canada and Mexico. It will feature 48 teams and a total of 104 matches. While history was scripted at the iconic Atari border post as Academy and Grammy Award-winning composer A.R. Rahman delivered his first ever live performance at the Frontier. Titled Jai Ho, which is a musical salute to the brave hearts, the landmark event paid homage to the courageous men and women of the Border Security Force. The stadium overflowed with thousands of visitors who gathered to celebrate a shared spirit of patriotism, gratitude and nationhood. The concert also marked a poignant prelude to the iconic cinematic release Main Wapas Aunga, which is an Imtiaz Ali universe saga set against a historic backdrop of 1947 partition. Rahman inaugurated the evening with his soul-stirring melody, Chanda Suraj Lakhon Tare. Later, the stage transformed into the musical world of Main Wapas Aunga. The crowd witnessed an energetic lineup of the film's soundtrack and concluded with Rahman's popular track Maa Tujhe Salam. As the sun set over the border, the stadium echoed with a profound sense of national pride. The decision to debut the music of Main Wapas Aunga at the Atari border elevates this from a mere promotional event to a profoundly symbolic artistic statement. Main Wapas Aunga is a narrative rooted in love, longing and the partition of India, a historical event that has deeply scarred the country. By bringing these stories back to the very geographic fault line where lives were irrevocably fractured in 1947, the performance bridged the gap between historical trauma and present-day resilience. The movie is set for a theatrical release on 12th of June, and the cast of the film includes Diljit Dosanjh, Nasiruddin Shah, Sharvari and Vedang Raina. That's all we had in this edition of our broadcast. News and updates to continue. You're watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
It's turned out to be the most successful World Cup from the standpoint of what's happening.
The FIFA World Cup is being co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico and kicks off on June 11th. For the first time in history, the tournament expands to 48 teams, playing a record 104 matches.
Get all the updates from the 2026 FIFA World Cup only on WION.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents and they reside for a while and then they go back to their home. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their time, celebrating, singing, dancing, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Redi Francis for WION The World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs, busting the hype with real insights.